So I think Stasis is actually good for the Crucible. Sorry, but I'm not sorry. Destiny PvP is an utter shit show right now, and Twitter has exploded lately with complaints from the PvP community. So I thought today I would give you my hot take on this, and that is that Stasis is actually good for the Crucible. Let me say it one more time. Stasis is good for the Crucible. So hear me out on this one. Stasis needs some tuning for sure, and I'll get to that in a couple minutes. But first, let me explain why it's been good. Stasis changes how the game is played. It physically changes the maps. It closes off lanes and changes the flow of movement. When we talk about game sense within PvP, and we talk about what makes a great player great, we're really talking about players who know the game so well that they know exactly what line to cross on a map in order to force their opponents to spawn in certain locations. They know the game so well that they can predict where an average player is going to move to next. So no, they're not cheating. There's definitely cheaters, but no, in this case, these guys aren't cheating. They're not tracking you through a wall. They just know where you're going to be because you're moving around the map in a very predictable manner, and they're helping you move in that predictable manner because they know the flow of the map so well. Stasis has changed all of that. It's added a level of inconsistency and unpredictability to the game, and that's upsetting to people. It throws them off. They have to relearn things. A properly placed ice wall grenade can close off a sniper lane entirely. You can use a hunter stasis super in conjunction with ice to force players to move to different areas of the map. It throws off the entire flow of the game and makes people have to rethink what is happening. It makes players have to be more in the moment and rely less on their habits and muscle memory. So it changes the game in such a way that people are having difficulties adapting, or they simply don't want to. Does this mean that Stasis is perfect? No, it's far from perfect. There are definitely some areas that need tuning, but it shouldn't be removed from the Crucible, and the abilities game shouldn't be changed at all. Yes, the abilities game shouldn't change. I think it's great that there's abilities in the game. One of the defining characteristics of Destiny is the abilities. Abilities make the game more interesting. They provide depth. They make the game more than just a shooter, right? They play into the whole space magic theme. The gunplay in Destiny is pretty good. Guns feel good, they sound good. I really like how unique some of the sounds are. Like, you can tell a Fool's Remedy sidearm from anywhere. My experience with first-person shooters is very limited, but of the few I've played, Destiny has the best gunplay, in my opinion. But Destiny is more than that. If you're looking for a game without abilities, then maybe Destiny really isn't the game for you. Good players know how to use both abilities and guns to defeat their opponents. Let's talk about what I think are the necessary changes to Stasis. Number 1, Shatter Dive definitely needs a cooldown. It shouldn't do damage without ice. In my opinion, it should function exactly like this Titan Stasis slide does, right? So cooldown and requires ice to do damage. So number 2, the freeze shouldn't last as long as it does. I don't believe that it should be removed entirely. I believe that it's good to counter shotgun aping. We have a lot of things in this game that 1 or 2 tap us, and the freeze helps counter some of that. So it just shouldn't last as long. The way we break out of the freeze is something that I have a big issue with. I understand that perhaps there's not enough buttons on the controller, so having it share the class ability might be necessary, but perhaps instead of having to hit the class ability and then wait, maybe it should be something more like a res timer, like a breakout timer, right? Where you hold one button until the circle's full. Personally, I don't like how often I'll use my class ability afterwards. I break out of it only to get killed in my rift animation. Like, thanks, I guess, or something, right? Or I don't break out of it at all. So the mechanics of the breakout need to change and make it a little less disruptive. And I think if it was less disruptive, people might not have as big of a problem with it. The AoE on certain skills needs to be dialed back slightly, like the Warlock Rift freeze and the Hunter's dodge slow. The radius on them just seems too large, so maybe bring that back a little bit. The 5th thing is that the Titan Stasis super seems to last a lot longer than other supers do. I don't think it should last quite that long. I take no issue with the Hunter super, though. I know a lot of people do. I think it's pretty simple to avoid. If you don't get hit with the initial blade barrage type, like with the shurikens, if you don't get hit with that initially, just run away from it. Again, it's really good to help control the flow of the map a little bit and force people to other places, but it's not overpowered, honestly. I used one today earlier and it tracked nobody. It went off a cliff. Thanks. Was a wonderful super. Anyway, I'm not sure I've said anything different from anybody else with my suggestions for improvement or tuning of the supers. The question is Bungie really going to listen? And I think that that's part of the problem that people are having right now, is they feel that Bungie doesn't listen to the community at all. I'm going to beg to differ. As somebody who's been negatively impacted by some of the changes that were brought about by feedback from the PvP community, I can definitely say that Bungie is definitely listening to a lot of things. So some examples of when Bungie has listened to the PvP community in the past year that I can remember off the top of my head are Trials are back. Trials came back, so that's a thing. The removal of skill-based matchmaking in the general playlist, like Control, gone. That one impacts me a lot. Like, I'm still pretty salty about it. Freelance Iron Banner was another suggestion that was brought forward because people didn't like the matchmaking. Return of hand cannon meta. The hand cannon meta is so strong this season. 120 hand cannons are, like, I think they're out of control, personally. I'm getting mapped by them. Like, scout rifle range, it feels like, and 2-tapped, and even 1-tapped. Yeah, True Prophecy with Rampage stacked all up. Charge with Light, 1-tap. Thanks, I guess, or something. Anyway, and they also have Trials Adept weapons with mods. Yeah, people are going to say some of those things suck, but I'm hearing things about the sniper and the mod that stacks. Just saying. So are all of these things that Bungie's done perfect? No. Is there room to improve? Yes. Are they ever going to get it right on their first try? Maybe, maybe not. Most people don't, as a matter of fact. But will they? I think they're going to get it right eventually. We just got to be a little bit patient with them. And I know that PvP people are always constantly saying that there's nothing in the season for them and that they want a season dedicated totally to PvP. But as someone who, I enjoy PvP and I'm trying to get better at PvP, so I spend a decent amount of time in that game mode. I'm like at 470 something hours now in the Crucible. I don't want a season dedicated just to PvP. Like, what is the rest of the player base going to do? 2/3 of the player base is PvE. But I do agree that PvP definitely needs some love, right? We need some new maps. Come on, Europa, there's got to be at least 2 maps out of that, right? Can we have a couple new maps? And of course, I would like the choice to be able to play Control with skill-based matchmaking turned on, because that's going to help me learn. And I'd love a game mode that had weapons restrictions. Think Prestige Leviathan raid lairs, right? Where maybe you go in and it says that you have to use a hand cannon and a fusion rifle, right? Or a scout rifle and a pulse rifle. Imagine the creativity that would come about from a game mode like that, right? Put it on the rotator list where it's, you know, it's going to give you extra challenge. And I think, honestly, it would be very entertaining to watch on Twitch and on YouTube. I would love to watch some pro streamers with weapon restrictions. But let's be real, it would be really interesting to see the different builds that people could come up with. And I think it would be a lot of fun. Anyway, I think all of this drama on Twitter right now and within the Destiny community and all of the I Quit Destiny videos is one part people not wanting to change, and one part the mid-season dramatic I Quit Destiny because there's no content. That happens every single season. That's really what I think it boils down to. So what are your thoughts on all of this? If you want to have a discussion about it, please feel free to leave a comment below. You can discuss it with me live on Twitch if you'd like. I stream on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And yeah, I love to talk about Destiny. And I'd like to hear what you have to think about all of this. Anyway, I'm going to go play some Crucible, maybe? Or do I want to go to sleep? Crucible. Good night. So because I take forever to edit videos and things, and work's been absolutely crazy, what I have here is a little out of date. There's been a couple updates since then. So January 19th, update 3.0.2 saw some nerfs to Shatter Dive, which included damage fall off versus unfrozen targets and a max range reduction. As well, Hunter's incoming damage reduction during Shatter Dive was reduced by 15%, making them a little bit squishier. As well as that, Whisper of Fissures, which is used quite often in conjunction with Shatter Dive, had its range and max damage nerfed as well. But the tuning didn't stop there, because with the arrival of the newest season on February 9th, update 3.1.0 brought a lot of small changes and bug fixes across the board to the subclass, and they specifically mention that more changes are coming. I will put a link to the patch notes in the description in case people aren't familiar with where to find them on the Bungie website. Anyway, that's it for this time. I'll see you guys another time.